Hello everyone, hope you're all well and thanks for all the support with my video. Today I want to speak about Roderick O'Gorman, the Minister for Disintegration, and his been speaking to media over the last number of days in relation to Coolock and Dundrum. In particular, we've seen the protests rise in Coolock over the last number of months, and in Dundrum as well, where the people brought forward a High Court injunction against the imposition of the Dundrum House Hotel to be used for international protection for up to 280 international protection applicants. Now, this injunction was denied by the High Court in the last number of days.
Yeah.
And also what's happened in Coolock is that O'Gorman said that these will be going ahead, despite the protests and despite the community's campaign against what's going on. And we know working class communities are completely being hammered because of the impacts of immigration, in particular Coolock, one of the most disadvantaged and deprived areas of Dublin and of Ireland, and again are being forced to put up with over 500 international protection stroke economic migrants being put into this Crown Paints factory site again. This is absolutely shows you the contempt the political establishment in Ireland has for democracy, has for any consultation, and has for serving the needs of ordinary people, and really uncovers who they represent. They represent the super rich, the oligarchs, the big bosses, big employers, and the big commercial property owners at the expense of ordinary people. And they're trying to claim there is some form of consultation taking place, working through the North-South Partnership. Now, this is a government-funded agency. And of course, when it's government funded, we would expect it to go along with the government lines. And that's what generally happens. There's no engagement with the ordinary people of Coolock in terms of accessing proper resources that people need. But this has been intergenerational issues in working class communities like Coolock. And it's also interesting because what they've been speaking about is that they've been talking about proper consultation and using the community engagement team to use this consultation and bring it forward so people have a voice and people are heard according to them. This is the narrative that they're trying to spin time and time again, which is nonsense, because this so-called community engagement team, they said, work with communities to try and access better services for communities. So the panacea to all neoliberalism and all the disaster that has been faced in Irish society is the community engagement team. Community disengagement team, it should be called. Nonsense. And they said that they would work towards extra GP services, transport links and health, and most notably, he forgot to mention housing, one of the huge crises we have in Ireland. But this is nonsense. It's more spin, more waffle, and anybody who believes this, well, I maybe have a few trees here I could sell you. This nonsense that's coming from O'Gorman. He spoke about community audits to see what resources were needed. Well, I could give you a list of audits in the local community that people need proper services and proper access to basic social and public services, which are in an absolute disastrous state in Dublin and across Ireland as well. But he also contended to say, well, it's okay, in 6 months' time a lot of people who come in are entitled to work permits and provide much needed employment to the labour force. Well, that's great, Roderick, for all the big employers that you work for, and IBEC, who are lobbying against increasing the minimum wage. So cheap labour for the big bosses. What's not to love when you're rich? And O'Gorman pushing this narrative, supported by the political establishment as well. And just to tie in a few more points around this, in terms of the community engagement team. The community engagement team is said to have had 60 meetings in Ireland in the last few number of years. They've had their meetings probably with their NGO pals, not with the communities, and it just shows you, it should be called, we just call it community disengagement, because it shows you there's the contempt that the political establishment have for working class communities all around Dublin and a lot of communities all around Ireland as well, without any proper debate or consultation to what's going on. And this happened in the last number of days, where the High Court found that the state's failure to provide the basic needs of homeless asylum seekers is a breach of their fundamental rights and in particular of their human dignity. This follows a case brought forward by the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission. This was never brought forward for any homeless issue in Ireland for many, many years by any human rights or equality commission have never brought it forward, but they brought forward this case on behalf of the asylum seekers as well. They cited the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights, the European Convention on Human Rights, and the Irish Constitution as well. And the courts contended in this judgment that a huge amount of effort is being put forward by the Irish political establishment and governments trying to deal with unprecedented crises. Who does it benefit? Who does it benefit? And it's ironic when you get a lot of these institutions that parrot the government's narrative time and time again. And they talk in Ireland sometimes about separation of powers. Another absolute fudge and nonsense and spin again, because there's no separation of powers, because a lot of these judiciary are appointed by the political establishment and they follow through on legislation and that they've pushed forward themselves. Much the same what they've done with the injunction in terms of the Dundrum case, because the planning and laws that were changed a number of years ago, back in 2023, in terms of not requiring planning permission for international protection centres. But of course, the great plan now is to keep circumventing local democracy and to push forward with bigger state provided accommodation and move away from the commercial property owners. You couldn't make this up. Absolute carnage in Irish society. And this comes at the same time when the Electoral Commission came out with a survey to say that 72% of people surveyed said that the government have lost control of immigration, and 72% of people also said there should be very strict limits placed on immigrants coming into Ireland in terms of the numbers, sheer volume coming in as well. This is, again, and many polls have we had where so many people have said enough's enough and they're being ignored left, right and centre, and O'Gorman's response is to come back in with a more of a heavy-handed approach. We saw what happened over the last number of days where the Gardaí brought down a number of water cannons to Dublin in anticipation of a protest in Coolock. And also you've seen the language coming from the political establishments, most notably Timmy Dooley talking about being battle ready. Now this shows you what the Irish political establishment are up for. They're looking for more, looking for social unrest, really what they're doing. They're ignoring every sort of facet of local democracy and even polls. But so many people have had enough of what's gone on and have been impacted catastrophically by their policies for many, many years in terms of the housing policy, in terms of the health crisis, and in terms of all the other crises we face in terms of immigration also as well. But O'Gorman has a great plan for this. We'll get the heavy-handed approach in, and what we'll also do is bring forward a hate speech bill before the government goes out of office. So try and cancel people from speaking out and censor them through social media companies as well. So this is what the agenda is, and this is what the Irish political establishment represent. They represent the globalists, the super rich, the oligarchs, and they bow down to the bureaucrats in the European Union rather than serving the interests of the people here in Ireland. We need politicians that serve the needs of people, and it's vitally important to keep power back in our communities and to work towards that as well in our society and build towards it. So people should speak out about it, know what's really going on, how the rich are benefiting from this, and who the Irish political establishment represents. And the veil is well and truly lifted from the political establishment, who feign sincerity when they say they care about people. It's absolute nonsense and carnage as well in Irish society. So thanks a lot for the support of my videos. If you like my videos, please press subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me also on various other platforms as well. So from Dublin today, thanks for all the support. See you all soon. Slán.